All right. I'd like to welcome everyone, those on Zoom as well as those in the audience. Thank you for joining us.
Recording in progress.
We will open up with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move to so we will move to item number 3, which is public comment on non-agenda items. If you have any comments, please come sit at the desk here and share those with us. Or let's do that first and we'll move to Zoom after that. Does anyone have any public comments? Hello, sir.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Share your name if you would, and then...
Yes. I'm Jeffrey Nelson, and let me just punch up my... Let's jump a few comments down here. I just wanted to respond to the recognition that an act of violence was carried out back on April 15th against someone in our Vermont community. And there are some people that are affected more than others, of course. And I just want to encourage and echo the words of people that have said something in these public meetings this past year, and that, of course, I've been here for, and that's to be specific. And when something affects us, or when something affects our community, if I could ask to reserve not saying someone's name for those people we don't like. Like, we all know what that means, and when it was the discussions of the white power groups that are active in our community, it was understood. We don't want to fan those flames and give them the power. And I think that dynamic works exactly the same in reverse, and we all understand that, I think, about if there's someone we want to value or recognize, to say Fern Feather's name, and to recognize, we don't have to, we can mourn someone, and we don't have to know them intimately. It's okay to expressions of recognition of someone's death or the things that have been committed against them. Almost all of it's acceptable. And it's something we do as a response as humans. And I think saying Fern Feather and I think saying hate crime is very important. And it's one thing if it's unsure. In this case, the criminal said it. And of course I won't say his name. But he said why he was doing that, and it's reported publicly. There's not an issue with it, and I think, other times you might want to not tip your hand or change the results. They can't say that somehow, the St. Albans took a stance in something. I don't think that's the case. You could say things like, apparently, because, that's obvious to those people that were listening, I think. So I do thank you for, putting it out there. I think in this case also a response to, or a public statement for all St. Albans to hear is important. It's also not more important than responding to the community, or to the community members that happen to be transgender. And without summarizing those things, or let's just say that those community members, some of them have people have appeared before you, Reese has appeared before you, and said what the community needs. And to me, I think it's one of those things that responding quietly to the community members is more important sometimes than a public statement. So I would just encourage you to, think about that, is that they can tell you, experts can tell you, people that live their experiences as transgender people are experts in their lived experience. And I think that their words and their opinions should be valued more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience would like to share comments? Let's move to Zoom. If you have any comments, please open your mic or raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll move from item number 3 and we'll go to item number 4, which is the Police Advisory Board regarding social media policy. Melinda, I see you're with us. Thank you for joining us on this evening, and Jamie, thank you as well.
Thank you for letting us join. I appreciate you getting us on the agenda kind of last minute, and I don't anticipate we're going to take a ton of time, but the Police Advisory Board, of course, has reviewed a lot of different policies. Chief Lamothe brings them to our team, and we give any recommendations if there are any to be given. And with the social media policy, this one is definitely a lot more complex than the average policy, because this is the policy that also affects the entire city of St. Albans staff, not just law enforcement. So it has been on and off the agenda for months now, but we're really not in a position to, it's outside of our scope of responsibility or recommendation where we really would know what to say should be done with it. But we felt our responsibility would be to at least bring it to City Council to let you all know that it has come up multiple times by various members in the community inquiring to see what the outcome is, and there still isn't an outcome. So we just wanted to, again, formally bring it to you and just let you know that we advised in our last Police Advisory Board meeting that we weren't going to add it to future agendas for the Police Advisory Board because there's really nothing that we can do as far as coming up with recommendations, but that we would bring it to you so you would know that it is being asked about within the community. And I don't know if Jamie has anything to add. I know she's on here and I know she's also under the weather, so I don't want to put too much pressure on her.
I think just to give, the reason that it continuously comes up is the reason that it probably comes up everywhere in our country right now. And I know as a government entity, the law is a little tenuous, but it came to our attention just individuals were concerned that they were seeing police officers were posting things that should that police officer encounter them on their social media page, that should that police officer encounter them in any situation, that it would automatically be a hostile one based on what was being posted on their personal pages. So appreciating that there's a lot of legal things that folks need to work through, and understanding the First Amendment adds an additional layer for government employees. We just thought it was important that we bring forward what we're hearing from the community so that you can look at it for the entirety of St. Albans City, which would of course include the police department.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks, Melinda.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience want to speak to this?
I do.
Right? Come on.
So it's a little confusing to me because there are plenty of municipalities who have very specific social media policies for their police departments, and I'm not sure why it needs to be citywide. For instance, Burlington has one for their police department, specifically for their police department. I would hope that it's something the city would look at overall for all employees, but that's kind of surprising to me. The reason I've heard that the police department is waffling on having a social media policy is because there's been something brought up. Officers heard that it was an issue of First Amendment or something like that. It definitely is not. The Supreme Court has ruled that municipalities, police departments, etc., can put specific regulations on how their employees act over social media. The Supreme Court's ruled on that. It's rejected it time and again. I think it's up to 3 times now. So that's a little confusing. I'm not sure why the police department couldn't develop one and then the city could develop one as well, or vice versa. But regardless of that, I just hope that you as a city really look at putting in place some sort of policy that makes sure that regardless of what someone's opinion is, or feeling is, or bigotry is, or etc., that those specific things aren't things that are put out into the public. Because all that does, really, as a city, you should want that, because all it does is degrade the public's trust in you, the public's trust in a police officer, the public's trust in the ability to provide services to citizens. So that's something I just encourage you to do in general. But in this case, I'm not sure why the police department can't develop a separate policy.
Okay. Anyone have any comments? I know this, I'm going to share with everyone, I mean, this was on the agenda, fairly new. We haven't had any conversations about this, anything specific. So we will, I will look to Dom and we'll have the conversation and move the topic forward. Anyone on the council have any concerns with going that route? Chad, you good with that? So Dom will reach out to, it obviously is a legal discussion as well. It's not just a policy discussion. I know our policies are vetted through our legal team, so we will we'll let you do some homework on that, Dom, and come back to us potentially in June.
Sure.
If that works. Okay. Melinda and Jamie, thanks for joining us. Jamie, hope you feel better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Melinda. Can I ask you one quick question?
Sure can.
Did I see something where you guys are swapping positions? Did I?
Yes, so effective this month, we are swapping positions. Jamie will now be the chair and I will be the vice chair.
Okay.
And there was multiple factors in that. Key one is the facilitation of the meetings and my ability to be reliable regularly because I am on call. And also, quite frankly, I think Jamie does a better job of it. So we're still going to be balancing a lot of work together, but Jamie will be the chair moving forward.
Great. Melinda, thanks for your efforts on getting that board up and running. And Melinda and Jamie, thank you both. I know it was a collaborative effort to get it up and running, and I know you put a lot of hours in. So on behalf of the entire council, thanks for all that work. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We have an amazing team, so it's been an honor to do this, and we're not done.
Great. Thanks, Melinda. Tom, I don't see anyone for item number 5 here. Shall we, Marty?
I think one of the parties is out in the hall, they're waiting for Ben, and I'm not sure if that party is the dog or the rabbit, but.
You want to wait, skip on that, come back to that?
The rabbit's gone.
Chicken. Well, I'm not sure who's representing
Yeah, all right.
the party is here or not.
Why don't we move ahead to the other items, take over?
Okay, we'll come back to item number 5 when Ben Kuchar is going to be joining us, right?
I believe Ben's presenting.
Okay. So let's move to item number 6, which is consider approval of public-private partnership agreement for a new restaurant.
Here comes Ben now. He's
Okay, we can bang this out.
What's that?
We've got 10 minutes.
Okay.
Let's keep it moving.
Okay, so let's talk about Off the Rails, located at One Fed. Dom, you've been in conversation.
Yes, we circulated some draft menus from Off the Rails. Off the Rails is a new restaurant that would like to open up in the former One Fed space. I believe it's going to be titled Off the Rails at One Federal. And we are proposing a public-private partnership with the general manager and the owner of Off the Rails, Sean Carroll, as well as the owners of the building. There's a proposed agreement in your packet. The top page outlines the broad strokes about why we're doing this and some of the other obligations of the parties, obligation of the landlord to put in some of their own money and to offer reduced rent. The city's portion is to this is an agreement between Off the Rails and the city, and so Off the Rails agrees to sign a 5-year lease. The city agrees to help with getting new signage in place. The bulk of it is an agreement around kitchen improvements. We think the kitchen's going to cost $180,000. We're proposing to put up $90,000 as a grant with the balance to be treated as equity to be repaid in the first 5 years. Consistent on profits being there to do so. So if it performs like the pro forma suggests it might, then we would like to get that second 90 back and do it again. We're also proposing to provide a $40,000 loan at our borrowing costs for 3 years.
line of credit during the 5-year period of $75,000 that would be designed to respond to some of the cash flow shortages that new businesses, in particular those in the restaurant industry, experience, and there's reporting requirements for monthly P&Ls and annual tax filings.
What's the timeline on the work and opening the doors?
The work would start this month, and opening the doors probably depends on how that work goes, but late summer maybe. Funding source is outlined in the cover document. There's ARPA funds.
Did you want to share a little of the experience of the individual?
Sure. Sean is currently the manager down at the Vermont Tap House Bar and Grill. So if you're going to Home Depot, that one right there on the corner of Route 2, and previously was the manager at what is it? In the mill there, blanking it.
Waterworks.
Waterworks. Yeah. He was instrumental in the reopening of Waterworks and so their new menu and rebranding. Came highly recommended from folks who've been around the industry for a while. Sean recently moved his family to St. Albans and was taken with some of the restaurant opportunities.
Okay. And you need us to approve the proposal?
I need a motion to authorize the manager to sign the agreement.
Does anyone on the council have any questions for Don regarding the proposal?
I don't have any questions, but when it comes to the vote, I'm going to abstain because of my involvement with another restaurateur in this area.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience have any questions on this? Chad, any questions? You're good? Anyone on the Zoom call, any questions or comments? All right, I would entertain a motion from the council that we would approve the proposal in partnership with Off the Tracks and authorize Dom to sign the document, the agreement.
I'll move that we approve the public-private partnership agreement with Off the Rails at One Federal and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Marie. We have a second. Any further discussion on this?
I'll be abstaining myself as well.
Okay. So we're going to take it to a vote. All those in favor say yes. Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, and we have two recused, Bob and Tim Hawkins. So the motion passes. There are actually any no's? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Go here from Chad.
He gave a thumbs up.
Oh, you did?
Thank you, Mike. Authorized to sign that and move forward. I know the community is anxious to get another restaurant in there, so that will be that'll be great news. Hopefully sooner than later. All righty. Is Ben here? You want to move to that, or we're waiting for Kelly too, right?
And Kelly's 740. We could do Chip's four-way stop.
Yep. We're jumping around a little bit, but we're going to move up to item number 8 on the agenda, and then we'll come back to item number 5. Ben is here. Chip, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. You know, we're really happy to see redevelopment beginning to happen at Fonda, and there's going to be a lot of activity at that site now, which is to be expected. In light of potential safety concerns with a lot of traffic now coming in and out of that access, that's right across from Federal Street, the end of Federal Street at Lower Newton, we think it's best to put a four-way stop at that intersection. So there would be a stop at the end of Federal Street as there is now, also stops on Lower Newton from either approach, and a stop sign, of course, at that access drive to Fonda. So we're bringing it forward now as an emergency ordinance to go out, put together a four-way stop, make sure we get the signage where it's going to be optimal and everyone can see it, make sure it's working properly, and then test it out for about a month under the emergency ordinance, and then come back to the council next month with suggestions on whether we want to make it a more permanent fixture.
We have the documentation in our packet.
Yes.
If I had a concern, it's that education period between, people coming down, upper Newton down to lower, and not realizing it's been changed and there is a stop sign. Is there anything we can do to flashing light or painted roadway, whatever the case may be?
Last time we added a new stop on Lake Street, where people weren't used to stopping before, we were able to do it successfully with just adding some extra signs, stop ahead. I think we might have some new traffic pattern signs that we can also put up.
Why would we not have, since the traffic there is only going to be a problem during business hours, why would we not just post somebody there? A flagger there?
That is a possibility. I think it's an added expense.
But it can't be that much of an expense. Those guys aren't that expensive.
They're getting more expensive all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, with the labor construction market being the way it is. Four-way stops work pretty well.
That intersection in the morning, that intersection at 4, 5 o'clock is a very tough intersection for four-way stops. I'm not envisioning it. I just can see a big problem on Main Street, and I can see a big problem on Federal Street.
Well, Federal Street actually would probably back up less because now they would have a chance to go, whereas they typically don't. When we thought about whether or not there'd be a backup on Lower Newton all the way to the light, we thought about Lake Street, where we were concerned about that at first, but over time, even during rush hour, that stops never back traffic all the way up to the light.
Because everyone goes down Newton Street instead of going down Lake Street.
Can you elaborate on why you mentioned Main Street? Are you saying backing up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can remember, and I'm sure you can too, when the trains used to go through there and the kind of problem we used to have there, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not going to be against it.
Yeah.
I'm just, because it's only 30 days and we can take a look at it after the end of 30 days and see if it works or not. But I'm just saying, I just think that for the limited amount of time, we're talking about a 24-hour period where only 8 hours is going to be a problem.
Well, it's not just one day, you realize that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's daily. It'd be someone there daily for 8 to 10 hours.
I think the reason we defaulted to this is the Federal Street multimodal connector plan calls for a signal there, right? And they also called for one at Lake and Vet, and we had the experience there where we saved $400,000 by putting in a four-way stop, and we thought it worked pretty well. And so when folks were saying here, hey, we're concerned about our ability to get out onto this, and the plans called for doing that eventually, it seemed like maybe this was a good mid-step.
We might find that we don't need to put a traffic signal there in the future too.
At all, and this would avoid, right, test that idea.
Okay, just thought I'd throw it out there. I just thought it'd be a lot easier to have somebody there directing traffic than it would be. But if you think that expense is too burdensome for the city.
And the safety for the traffic officer,
To your point, Tim, I think we've got 30 days to evaluate.
Yeah, we've got 30 days to look at it.
This isn't permanent by any means, but we'll see. I go down there, through there every day, so I'll have a good feel for it. You're in that area as well.
I go down there a lot.
Marie Newell's coming up from there, so. Are there any other questions for Chip?
No.
Okay, so why don't, entertain a motion. Chad, do you have, sorry about that. Do you have any questions or anyone on Zoom?
Yeah, I think it'll help Federal Street, Tim. And it may back up a little bit up Lower Weldon, we'll find out. I'm only supported, this is a dangerous intersection anyway, and only supportive of it if we are posting, we're painting as you come down, stop ahead, and then painting on the road, stop right in front of that line, and same as coming up Lower Newman. We gotta paint stop ahead before. And that's the only way I'm gonna be supportive of it. It's just, I just feel someone's gonna get hurt. Someone's gonna come off Federal Street, go left, and the person's gonna go straight right through it and not see that.
Yeah.
So I wanna give much notice as possible.
Got that, Marty? Did you say paint the road, Chad, right?
I want halfway up that, as you're coming down, halfway up the hill, it says stop ahead, and I want stop with a big white line.
Now, the expectation going north on Federal Street is that that traffic is not gonna stop. If you have the expectation that that traffic stops and then it doesn't stop, that's gonna be problematic.
That's a normal stop sign though.
That's right.
So
But
I'm not worried.
the expectation is if I'm driving down Federal Street going towards Fonda, and I've got to stop at that stop sign, and I see a car coming up, I know that that car is going to continue on, so I'm going to hold at that stop sign. If I think that that person is going to stop coming up Newton Street because there's a stop sign there, and now I go, and that person doesn't stop, there's going to be a problem. And that's the same thing going down.
That's what I'm worried about, Tim. That's why I want as many notices ahead of time if there's that stop sign coming up. Because some people may only go through there once a month, and it's not intuitive to them. I mean, every day we'll get it, but some people are not. And that's all it's gonna take is one person pulling off Federal Street and either coming down or going up, it's just gonna T-bone them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is there a motion on the floor?
There's not yet.
I'll make one. I'll move that we grant the temporary emergency ordinance for a four-way stop at Federal and Lower Newton, provided that we have the painted signs on the road within 100 feet. Yeah. Or at a reasonable distance.
Yeah, well.
If you deem it's more reasonable to put it somewhere else.
Okay, we have a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Got a second by Bob. Any other questions in the audience? Anyone? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the emergency ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion is, the ordinance is approved. I'm going to pass around the document.
I got it.
There you go.
Pass it down and I'll grab it from Newell when it's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. So we're gonna backtrack a little bit and go back to item number 5, which is a hearing and potential action regarding a alleged vicious dog. Ben, you're here. I got it right now. If you want to come on up, Ben, and the council has received the report and then the updated report from I believe today's activities. But I'll turn the floor over to you and you can take it from there.
So you have the updated reports from the incident that occurred yesterday on Lake Street?
Yesterday,
Okay. All parties are here. The ones from Walnut Street and the ones from Lake Street. It appears that the dog owner is not here.
The dog owner is not here.
On April 6th, at 5:32 p.m., the St. Albans Police Department responded to 28 Walnut Street for a complaint of a dog that had entered their yard and took a pet rabbit. At 5:35, St. Albans Police Department received the second complaint stating that the dog was attacking a rabbit near the area of 35 Walnut Street. Officer Catarat arrived on scene and she observed the following. Upon arrival, she spoke to the complainant in the case, Trista Heeman, and another female who handed over to her a brown and white pit bull type dog they had caught by the collar. The dog willingly came with her, jumped inside the cruiser. After the dog was secured back in the cruiser, Trista told her the dog had grabbed one of her pet bunnies out of the pen and in the back of the yard killed it. Trista told me while she was trying to pry the dog's mouth open to free the bunny, the dog's tooth grazed her hand, giving her a small puncture wound, which she was able to take a photo of. After speaking with Trista, she looked up the phone number on the dog's collar and learned that the owner was a Benjamin Haskell who lives on Lake Street.
She drove to Lake Street and spoke to Haskell and explained to him that the dog had killed a rabbit and wounded a person. Mr. Haskell advised that the dog's vet records were handy and that he told him that he was in the process of moving and that they were at his old residence in Westford. She informed the ACO. Then she returned back to the St. Albans Police Department to inform that Haskell had told him that the dog was vaccinated but could not provide the record. Later in the evening, Krista sent some photographs of the injuries. Officer Cataract was able to obtain a photograph of Trista's injury, which shows a small wound to her right, almost like her right thumb knuckle. And then there's another photo of her rabbit, which was named Clifford. And then Trista also provided a second photo of 2 other rabbits that were injured. On the 7th, ACO Officer Jim Benson investigated the incident involving the rabbits. ACO Benson report stated the following: he went to Trista Heeman's house. She told him that the dog had killed one of her rabbits, injured 2 others, and then bit her in the hand when she tried to get the rabbit out of the mouth. Ms. Heeman filed a complaint, gave pictures of the rabbit, and also took pictures of 2 injured rabbits. Clifford was a red 12-pound rabbit that was killed. Sky was a 6-month-old white rabbit, was injured on both front paws and nose, and Willie, a white rabbit, was injured on his right ear paw and his left front paw. ACO Benson went to Haskell's house, where he learned the dog's name was Moose, and he's a 4-year-old mixed breed. He's black and white. Moose came from All Breed Rescue, and Mr. Haskell said that they gave him his rabies shots but had no paperwork. Mr. Haskell told me that his daughter did not close the door all the way and that Moose escaped. He took pictures of Moose and Haskell filled out a statement. And in the bottom on paragraph 8 is a photograph of Moose. We were able to obtain a sworn written statement from Trista, which basically states pretty much the same thing that ACO Benson and she stated on scene. In the sworn written statement from Haskell, he said that basically his daughter did not close the door all the way and the dog ran out. ACO Benson issued Haskell an ordinance violation ticket for Moose with a dog that's not licensed, a dog running at large, and vicious dog. On April 22nd, 2022, at 3:51 p.m., ACO Benson issued another ordinance violation for ticket for Moose running at large again. We have had several dealings with Moose in the past. Running at large on March 16th, 2021, July 28th, 2021, December 23rd, 2021, April 6th, 2022, which was the incident, and then April 22nd again, which was the ticket that ACO Benson issued. Last night, I was informed that there was another incident that the police responded to on Lake Street for a complaint of a dog that had entered a yard and killed approximately 30 chickens. Officer Colton Riley responded to the complaint, and a neighbor provided photographs of the chickens that were killed. And that's paragraph 15. A sworn written statement from the owner, one of the owners, Jordan Payne, was obtained, which states neighbor called him, saying, called his parents, claiming that his chickens and ducks were dead. They got home and they saw the slaughter. I looked at my security system and I have video of the dog in the secured chicken area. The video of the dog running out of the yard with a chicken in its mouth. Today I spoke with Mr. Payne on the phone. Mr. Payne advised me that the dog broke into the fenced-in area where the chickens and the ducks were located. Payne stated that he lost 28 birds, 25 chickens, and 3 ducks. Payne stated that some of the birds were breeders, specialty birds, and one was at least a showbird. I was able to review the video of surveillance video from Payne's house, and it shows roughly at 14:20, black and white dog is seen entering the Payne's neighbor's driveway. And then it goes towards the back of the house, where it then goes on the neighbor's property and then goes out and then checks out 2 chicken coops that are basically in front of the garage. And from there, the dog heads towards the coop where the chickens are and where the ducks are. At 14:23, the dog can be seen running around inside the fenced-in area, and can be seen chasing chickens as they run away. Again, the dog can be seen. This goes on for approximately 45 minutes, 44, 42 minutes or so, where the dog is in there. At a couple points in time in the video, you can see at least one bird escape and go up the driveway, and the dog comes out of the pen and then attacks the chicken and kills the chicken. On roughly about 3 o'clock, the dog is last seen leaving the backyard, holding a chicken in his mouth, and then ends up going down Lake Street. Eventually, I guess the dog ended up dropping the chicken, and one of the neighbors ended up seeing it and then throwing it into a dumpster. Also, the video identified an unknown female that was walking the dog. She was able to catch the dog roughly around the same time that this all occurred. And she walked him on a leash. We were able to identify that female. She was able to let us know that she at least saw the collar of the dog, and the dog's name was Moose, which is the same dog that Mr. Haskell has. ACO Benson was able to talk to Haskell today that advised that Moose did escape through a window sometime in the afternoon on May 8th, but did not know about the incident involving the birds, and he was only gone for approximately 5 minutes.
Approximately what?
5 minutes.
Regarding those tickets, then what, have they been paid his previous tickets?
I don't believe so.
And when an individual gets a ticket, what's the amount of those? Offhand?
I don't know the dollar amount off the top of my head. I think
There's $30 for dog at large, $30 for no license, and $125 for vicious dog.
So he had received multiple tickets in all those categories, I would guess.
Here, I'll speak on this one. He received at least the 2 running at large right now. One for the 22nd and also the one for the 6th. We have not got a chance to issue paperwork for the one that occurred yesterday, but our intentions are the same thing.
Council have questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Where's the dog now?
The dog, last we knew, was at the residence. I know they went there today. They didn't leave the park, so it's not really too sure. I know the dog, last time we saw it on video was yesterday, and it was heading in the direction of the house, of where he lives.
Well, that was my question, but when the council has an opportunity to comment, I'd like to comment also.
Question.
Yes.
That dog shouldn't be running loose anyhow, and after a while, can't you take that dog and, what it's been doing, put it down?
Staff can't, the council can order.
Yeah, the council can order.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
I don't like to be an executioner, but I think that if he keeps getting down, he's gonna be keep doing the same thing.
Or worse?
Would it be helpful maybe to, since we do have a new member on the council and we haven't had Mr. Stock here in a while, just to have staff kind of remind us what our obligation is here?
So you've got property rights at stake. The dog is the person's property. That's what this hearing is about. He's been provided notice. This hearing is an opportunity for the police department to present the evidence and for the person, the dog owner, to present their side of the story. And then after hearing all that, the council has pretty broad discretion. You know, their options range from, you know, pretty benign, you know, has to be on a leash, you know, basically comply with our leash laws, and sometimes we order that the property be fixed up. And at the other spectrum, you can order that the dog be euthanized, or anything in between.
We've had a situation where we had requested or ordered that the dog be removed from city limits also,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's in that in-between
Yeah.
piece.
I also had a chance to read our animal control ordinance, and as Dom said, we seem to have pretty broad authority to dispose of the dog in a humane way, to order it muzzled, chained, or confined. But I think it would seem to me the owner doesn't give two hoots about the dog, because she or the owner is not even here today, despite this incident of yesterday. And confining the dog doesn't seem to do any good. So I would be in favor of a more extreme recourse, like disposing of the dog in a humane way, or removing it from the city limits in somehow.
The owner was served the paperwork for the hearing.
So let's allow the residents an opportunity to speak. Come on up, and if you please state your name and share your comments.
Hello, I'm Trista Neiman. I was one of the owners of the rabbits along with my dad, Alan. So I wanted to start off by saying that our rabbits are not just pets. They are livestock. We have a lot of time and money invested into them. The particular rabbit that was killed was pedigreed, meaning he has papers with his lineage for breeding programs. He is a rabbit that produces show rabbits for people all around the United States. We got him from Massachusetts. It's very hard to find quality rabbits in Vermont, so we also had to pay for transporting him here. We had a few $100s invested in him between the cost of him, the transporting, and we've been feeding him since he was 8 weeks old. Moving forward, his babies we sell for approximately $50 each. His last litter that was produced had 15 babies in it, so that would be $750. So moving forward, we're also at a loss with that, because he was our highest quality buck in our breeding program. So we're gonna have to find a new one, which is not easy to find. Not only that, he had become a pet over the last couple of years, and it was very emotional to watch this dog carry his lifeless body down the street. Not only for us, but the neighbor's young child had to see this happen, and was quite hysterical in the moment. My dad had been outside working that evening, and he heard commotion coming from the rabbit hutches. As they came into view, he witnessed a black and white dog pulling a rabbit from a closed cage. He was pulling the bottom of the door out. The cage door never came open. He had it pulled out and ripped the rabbit through the door. Our cages are also very high off the ground to try to prevent issues. We've had issues with fox and raccoons and have never had quite as bad of an issue as we have with this dog. He was running around the yard with the rabbit in his mouth. He had it by the neck. My dad was trying to yell for him to drop it, which he would not do. I was inside at the time, and I heard him yelling. So I went out the back door. He yelled that the dog had our rabbit and that it was running out front. I then went out the front door and saw the dog running down the middle of Walnut Street with a rabbit that he had by the neck. I ran down the street, and one of our neighbors down the street intercepted it. I tried opening his mouth using all of my strength. He would not let go. The dog finally took a deep breath, and my neighbor was able to pull his lifeless body from the dog's mouth. As I pried his jaw open with my hands, unfortunately there was no saving him. His neck had been broken. Corporal Carteret arrived at my house as I brought the dog back down the street. She picked up the dog and brought him to his owner after taking photos and talking with us. After she left, we went out to check on the other rabbits. We found one that had its cage door opened, one had injuries on its nose and feet, and one had injuries on its feet, including the tip of its toe had been chewed off. We believe the dog was grabbing their feet through the cage. There were also 2 more cages that we had on a stand that were almost pulled all the way off onto the ground. We went out and we bought extra clips and reinforced the bottom of the cage doors in fear that he would be back. Prior to today, I had written up what I was going to say and had mentioned that something needs to be done before someone else suffers the consequences of this prey-hungry animal. Unfortunately, as we all know, it already happened to Mr. Payne's livestock that he also has his time and money invested in. We know of cases in Westford, in St. Albans from March of last year as well. I would understand if our animals were loose. Some people free-range their animals, some people free-range their chickens, but ours were all very secured in cages, and I know Mr. Payne's fence was very secure with fence staples, which are not easy to pull out. My concern is this problem is going to be ongoing for the city, and next time it could be someone's small dog or a child. Mr. Haskell has been given the chance to keep his dog contained, and it continues to be an issue. We shouldn't have to be worried about a dog at large rather than natural animals such as fox and raccoons. He has done more damage than they ever have. That's all.
Thank you for those comments, and sorry you had to go through this. Hopefully we will address this so it doesn't happen again. So thank you for coming in. Appreciate that, Alan. Good seeing you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Any questions for anyone?
I think it was pretty thorough. Thank you.
Sorry to hear about you.
Is there anyone else that, come on up?
Jordan Payne.
Hey, I'm Jordan Payne. I live on Lake Street. Our incident was yesterday afternoon. We got a phone call stating from our neighbor that we needed to get home because we had a severe issue with our chickens and ducks. Anyone who has animals, someone tells you to get home because there's something wrong with your animals, you know where it's leading. We came up from my parents' camp at Hathaway's Point, pulled into the yard, and my neighbors did way more for us than I expected. They gathered all the carcasses, moved them out of the chicken coop, the ducks out of the duck yard. I do have 2 separate areas because my ducks have a little pond, a tote pond, and we don't want our chickens to drown. The ducks have 2x4 welded wire fencing. It's typically meant to keep dogs in. And it's secured with 3/4 inch fencing staples. They're about as big around as a nail, folded over, you drive them in. If you were to go to my house today, you can see where the wire, when I pounded it in so far, it's in there a good 1/8 of an inch. You can see the indentation through the wood. And the dog pulled out the staples. There's now holes in that 2x4 rectangular fence that I can get my fist through. I don't have the biggest hands, but it shouldn't slide through 2x4. Completely shredded the chicken wire. I have plastic coated chicken wire. It's not silver, it's green. It's to help make it invisible. The dogs actually ripped it apart. I can't tell you what the tensile strength of that chicken wire is, but I can tell you there's not a single person in here who's gonna be able to do that. This dog's vicious. I sat there for 7 hours today going over my security cameras, and I was able to, like the officer said, see the dog in my secured dog run with chicken in its mouth. I've got it in video leaving my yard. You can follow it from the chicken yard all the way out to where it's going westbound down Lake Street, and it finally disappears. It's 8 feet in front of my camera, beautiful picture. The police station does have all this video evidence, I guess, that I sent over to them. But this stuff's not cheap. As Trista said, it's expensive. I went through last night, it's actually 26 birds, or 26 chickens and 3 ducks we lost. And just the replacement value of the birds alone, not including the time and money I'm gonna have to spend fixing the fence, I'm over $800 in losses. And from the sounds of the owner of this dog, there's not really any chance we're gonna see it, but something needs to be done with the dog. I'm afraid it's gonna get somebody's kid. You know, I've got 3 of my own, 10, 13, and 15. They're all with me when they saw this pile of chickens when we pulled into our yard. So these animals, they go from being livestock to pets very easily, especially when you're not a big farm. You name these animals and see them every day, all day long, they're your pets. But that's all I have.
Jordan, I may have read over it, but the Haskell residence is where?
That I do not know. The Haskell residence, I do not know. The person who had the dog.
It's the corner of Adams and Lake Street, right?
Which is how far from your house?
We are just above Walnut Street, so Adams is technically 2 streets down from us.
Quarter mile.
Maybe a quarter mile from Walnut.
He's across from Tate Brook. That's where they.
Oh, it's on,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, you're across from Tate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sunday morning, my girlfriend, Rhonda Jean Molesky, she went on a walk with my nephew and my youngest daughter and came across a woman who lives 2 houses up from us. And she was walking that dog about 9:20 that morning and introduced the dog to them as her new dog they had gotten that day.
Really?
Yeah. And it lunged at him. She made the kids walk around the lady and the dog in the street because of the aggression it showed.
So are you saying he gave the dog away? Is that what it appears?
From what I have been told, it's been confirmed to me that the dog that is seen running away from my house with my chicken in its mouth is Haskell's dog. And RJ met that dog this morning that my neighbor said it was their new puppy, new dog. So in my opinion, he dumped the dog to them. They have dogs going through that house all the time to avoid today's hearing. And that's just my opinion, but that's the way everything sounds to me. And I haven't seen the dog all day. I even got on looking this morning to see her walking it, and I didn't see her out with it. So it's no longer there.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Thanks for coming in, making time, and sorry for your loss.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Chad's hand is up.
Oh, sorry, Chad?
I have a couple questions for Mr. Kuchar. Do we know if this dog's done killed any other animals before Trista's?
I think there was other incidents that were not in the city of St. Albans. I think there was, 2 other instances. I think one in the town and one in Westford.
Yeah, considering he lives in the last house in the city, anything going west is in the town. So, when did he say he lost this dog? He didn't lose this dog on May 8th. Is that what he said? He lost this dog on May 8th, this last time?
No, what he told us was that the dog jumped through a window on the 8th. And that's how he got loose.
Okay,
He was only,
this dog.
Sorry.
This dog was loose on May 7th. They were looking for this dog May 7th all day. They were driving up and down the streets looking for this dog. At 8:30 in the morning, he was driving up and down our street looking for a white and black dog. So that's the morning of this. At 8:30 in the morning, he was looking for this dog. So this dog had been lost. And I also heard he was looking to rehome this dog on the 7th when it bolted. So my guess is he has tried to rehome this dog. So this owner has failed this dog, because honestly, I have 2 rescues. They would probably do the exact same thing. The difference is we are responsible dog owners. This is not a responsible dog owner. I don't think rehoming this dog is going to fix it. I do want to apologize to Trista and especially Jordan, because Trista brought this to my attention and we probably could have fixed this before it was a problem with Jordan. So my sincere apologies to both of you.
Officer Benson, do you want
The only thing I have to add, as far as I know, since 2020, this dog has not been licensed or vaccinated or been to a vet as well.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Chevalier, would you like to come up?
Sure. I'll keep it brief.
We hope so.
My name's Peter Chevalier, I'm Jordan's dad. So I just want you to think about, the council to think about something else besides the chickens here. So I have 3 grandchildren in that household that have been taught that this is a learning thing for them, taught to sustain how to raise animals, how to be good to animals, how to clean the yard, how to clean this yard. If you go back there, there's no smell, there's no dirt. If you went back there, you'd be amazed at the job they've done with this yard. The chickens, I don't know if they're any special chickens, but they lay good eggs, I know that. But anyways, I want you to look at the bigger picture here, that this isn't just about the chickens, it's about my grandchildren and about them raising animals and doing the right thing. Not only that, but I believe that about every other week they were donating maybe 13 dozen eggs to Martha's Kitchen. So they're helping out the community also. So when something like this happens, there's a lot of people that suffer from it. Not just them and not just the children, but the kids are pretty devastated by it. So that's why I'm here tonight. They've done a good job with these chickens. No dog, no person should be allowed in anybody's yard anywhere. I want you to think about that one, and I don't know what the council can do about this dog, but think about that when you make a decision.
Thanks, Peter.
All right?
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other comments before we? Everyone's good? How about on Zoom? Anyone on Zoom have any comments you'd like to share? Okay, seeing none. I guess I'm looking to you, Dom. What can we dictate? I know you just gave us a sort of a vague overview of what can be done. Let me just ask, in terms of the financial piece for these individuals, is that more of a civic court? I look to my lawyer, alderpersons, is that? And I'm just saying this is the first piece of the discussion, but is that where they would go, or can we dictate
Getting a judgment in civil court doesn't mean you're going to get anything.
No, I know.
It's just someone saying you win.
Right.
But getting compensated for your losses is going to be probably nil, especially with what we've seen.
And we can't dictate an amount, because they will.
No, quick review of that statute. I don't think we can order, well, you think it's called restitution, but I don't think we can order that.
Yeah, okay. Right. So we're focused on, I just want to clarify that, so we're focused on what we want to do specifically with the dog, additional tickets, right? And how we handle the dog situation. And as we heard, our choices are, they go from relocation, putting the dog down, stipulations on conditions. For me, I'll start the discussion. I don't think stipulations on conditions is going to do anyone any good. I don't think if the dog continues to be with that same owner, which it sounds like he may not, but I would say I don't think the owner has ignored the previous interaction with the police and Officer Benson. I think I don't think stipulations on controlling the dog should be on the table personally. So it leaves us two options, of relocation or putting the dog down, in my opinion. So I guess I'm looking for some feedback relative to that. Chad, you want to jump in?
I just don't want to move the dog to another, I mean, this happened in West and it's happened in St. Albans City. What happens if it goes 100 feet down Lake Street and it's in the town? That's not going to do us any good.
I think another factor, as several of the witnesses have mentioned, is small children. And now that the council is aware of the dangerousness of this dog, if something terrible should happen to a child, it puts a little bit more onus on us. So I think we need to address that as well.
I would think that if that dog is aggressive like he is, I think it should be put down.
Marie?
Can I say something, Tim?
Sure. Go ahead, Al.
You know, we're talking about relocation. I think it's already been there, because it was in Westford, and they threw him out of there. And it did happen in the town, down, I think, what is it, Jewel Street down there? Jewel. So it's been down there and hits 3-4 houses. So it's already been there. It's been in Westford. It's been here. So what are you gonna tell him? Move to Elbert? I mean, he's already been around. This dog just keeps on, keeps on, keeps on. There's no stopping it. The kids open the door, it goes.
Right.
Jumps out the window, it goes. It's just no end. And we're on guard almost 24 hours a day now. Because you're just frightened that it's gonna come back.
Question for you. Does the owner have a right to shoot that dog if it's doing damage in the city?
No. I don't think that's the way they want to go. I think it's.
No, but I mean, by the time you call the police, you got damage.
Oh, you're saying if one of these individuals had witnessed it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If it was my animal, he'd probably be dead in the yard. He did it to my animal. Sorry to say that.
I own 2 small dogs, and knowing that this dog is running at large, I would be really hesitant to go out and walk my dogs on the city streets. And I think the dog's been given umpteen opportunities. The owner's been given umpteen opportunities to change his behavior as far as he restrains that dog. Hasn't done it, hasn't had the dog licensed. He strikes me as a very irresponsible pet owner. And I guess myself, I would hate to put any animal down, but I think that this dog has had enough taste of wild animals. I mean, he's hit a lot of places in the town, in every location he's lived, and I think he is definitely a threat to the community. And again, you know, you bring up small kids. Yes, that would be my first concern. So, you know, I'd hate to opt for putting the dog down, but I don't know if there's a whole lot of alternative here. And he, as Chad said, I mean, he's failed that dog, the owner has. And that's a sad thing.
Okay, Michael?
Yeah, I don't think we should make this animal somebody else's problem. I mean, we've been through a few of these vicious dog hearings while I've been on the council, and you know, I hate to order an animal disposed of, but it just doesn't seem like there's really a viable alternative to keep people's animals and maybe even children safe. So if that's the consensus on the council, I would support that.
Tim?
I guess I'll make a motion. I'll move that the council order the dog known as Moose humanely euthanized.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to euthanize the dog.
What was that motion?
To euthanize the dog.
So the city take ownership of the dog and humanely euthanize the dog. I don't want the owner to be responsible to do that. I want us to take ownership of this dog to do it. I'm afraid he'll take it somewhere and shoot it.
Okay. Thanks, Chad.
I want us to take ownership of it and do it humanely.
I just have one comment. It sounds like he's moving this dog from people to people. So how do we track down the dog? If he's moved it to another household?
We could take care of that.
We can?
I think the policy question before the council was to condition it or to euthanize, and the council has a motion on the floor to euthanize humanely. And Chad's concerns have been registered. The department can take it from there.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a motion from Tim, seconded by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Chad, your thumbs up. Thumbs up to the yes, I might add. So the motion passes unanimously to address the situation. Ben, you will, right, between you and the city manager, you will address what needs to be done?
Yes, we will.
I want to thank all the residents for coming in. I know I speak on behalf of the entire council. We're sorry that you've had to go through this. It impacts your families, it impacts your quality of life in that neighborhood, and hopefully we can move past this and you can get back to hopefully where you were before. So thank you all for coming in. We appreciate it. And if you have questions, Ben, they can contact either you or city manager.
Yep.
I can't give you I don't think we can give you a timeline just yet, but as you move forward, you can reach out to either Ben or Dominic. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. I don't, if you talk to Officer McWilliams, it was too many crossbreeds, too much. I write down, Tim, you probably know better than I do. Wasn't there a discussion at one time where the city had talked about banning pit bulls?
Yeah, it was discussion on
But part of the reason it did not move forward
both
is
hybrids.
you got other dogs that could similar issues, but also the crossbreeding within the pit bull line, and so it's always.
We actually had a fair amount of people here that were against that too, if I recall.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
And it has so much to do with the way that the dog's trained,
Right.
not really the
Right.
specific
Yeah.
breed
Goes to the owner.
necessarily, so
A lot of it goes to the owner.
that could be a hard one, I think.
It's pretty obvious in this case.
Were you? A couple of things, Sean's on, I don't know if he realizes we addressed that situation, I don't know if he wants to stay on. And is Kelly coming in, or are you speaking to that?
I believe I'm going to handle it.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to item number 7, then we'll get back on the schedule, so we'll move from 7 to item number 9 after this.
Okay, right on track performance.
So the item is council review of summer staffing plan for Hope Park and the Aqua Dam.
So this is, it's not an action item, but it's a chance for us to sort of use the city council as a focus group and get some impact, get some input as to how we organize and staff for the summer. It's got 2 threads. The first is the sort of long-standing call for additional staffing presence at Houghton Park to address some of the behavioral quality of life issues that tend to occur at the park. Many of you probably recall back in the day there was a staffing presence, and that went away. I just got an email today from a person in the neighborhood who observed the behavior at the basketball court all weekend long and was just really put off by it and feeling like it's not a family park. So the strategy there is multi-pronged, but like many of our other areas in the city, the strategy would be to change the behavior by infusing a different demographic and a different population, changing the environment. In a couple meetings, you'll see some proposed improvements for the park. We recently had the striped fields with the lacrosse team begin practicing down there. But an opportunity presents with the Aqua van to have, which is the van that will be transporting kids back and forth up to the pool, to increase the staffing presence there and have the park serve as really the hub for the Aqua van. So the idea is that, much like the park rangers in the state park system, who do wear a lot of different hats. They do grounds maintenance, they do light enforcement, they do entertainment, and some of them even move people around from time to time. We envision having a park ranger type position to be based out of Hilton Park. A chief responsibility of that person is going to be driving the Aqua van. And so the Aqua van is outlined in the memo, beginning late morning, early afternoon. We'll start making trips, and we'll make probably 3 trips a day back and forth, depending on the demand. One of the things we're cognizant of is, this isn't a rec program. This is transport, and while we will have some influence over the rules on that in that van, once they're up at Hardack, they're free to be at Hardack, and they can be out in the woods. They can decide that they're going to go into the pool where they'll get some additional oversight. They could, go mountain biking. But it's different than signing up for a rec program. So before minors get on that bus, they'll need to register with the city either once for the summer or daily, just so we have some structure in place as to who's riding the Aqua van. And finally, there'll be a sign-in sheet when they get on and when they get off. Tom, that's a nutshell of where we're headed. I'd welcome any questions or observations, or help us think through things we haven't identified.
One that comes to mind for me, Dom, is where does the Aqua van fall relative to swim lesson time?
Yeah.
And I think the comparison we're always looking for is having that same access ability like we did down on Alden Street, that kids could walk to swim lessons, they have access for public swim.
Yeah.
Is there going to be that Aqua van to get kids to swim lesson earlier in the day? I don't know what the hours of the swim lessons are going to be.
Yeah.
But I think that would be an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, there can be.
I think we're going to end up learning a lot. I'm wondering, do we have cameras down there, Chad?
Yes.
We do have cameras?
Yeah, we have cameras now. I don't know if there's any over by the basketball, but there are some around the building because the kids are climbing on.
We have full-time people full-time staff up at Hardack. Why can't we monitor Houghton Park? Or is that an off hour where the problems are occurring?
Tim, the cameras don't have sound on them, so you're not hearing a lot of that stuff. This happens. This is an up and down cycle we have in the park. It's there's a few kids that are probably instigating a lot of the incidences. They'll move on in a few years. The problem is it's really not a family park until they do move on. So if you go to Barlow Street, you'll see a lot of little kids playing in the basketball court. You won't see that at Houghton Park. It's the high school kids. It's a different group of kids. A majority of the time, 95% of the time, they're absolutely fine. They're you might hear some swearing every once in a while, but it's not really a big deal. Last year was the start of it. We had kids. There's no more picnic tables in the park. They're the metal ones. They've smashed all the wooden ones. They were on the roof all the time. There's bottles broken all over the place. So far this year, 1 bottle. It's been fantastic. And there are 2 bike racks down there. And I just want to say, Jim was good. I love Jim because Jim would go right up to the kids and talk with them. He'd be like, hey, what's going on? We had Park Patrol down there, and they would just sit on a bench in the corner on their phones and not interact with any of the kids. So I like that they're not in, there's, you know, they're in a polo shirt and khaki pants or khaki shorts or whatever. That's really good. But we just need someone that's going to interact with them and say, hey, what's going on? And, you know, there's a lot of them might need some kind of service, and we can show them where that is. I mean, it's just right around the corner. I mean, all the help they need is right around the corner. So
A person driving an Aqua van isn't gonna be spending a lot of time in the park.
well, if they're only doing a couple pickups, they're there, you know, from 10 to 11 and 1 to 2. You know, all the activities start in the afternoon as soon as school ends. So, you know, if they're there from 3:30 to 4:30, those are the times where they need to be there. I mean, parents are there at noon, and you know, there's t-ball going on at 4:30. So, and there's lacrosse now. So when there's big groups of parents there, the kids aren't as big of a deal. So it's turning the corner again. It's hitting the top of the sine wave, and we're going to come back down where we get more families there. And once you have more families there, those kids don't hang out there. But you can't just shove them. You can't just shove them away. You got to really interact with them. That's the important bit. And Jim did that very well.
Is this the congregational point for anyone wants to take the van, as opposed to circling the neighborhood? They need to get to Home Park if they want to
Get down to the park, yeah. Yeah. You know,
Dom,
go ahead, Chad.
Are we doing the lunch meal program out of there? Because there's a snack bar there for the Steelers football, and you could put lunches in the fridge, or, I mean, you could just hand out lunches there.
Yes.
If we did the summer lunch program there.
Yeah, that's the plan, is to move the summer lunch program that was at the pool to Houghton Park. You know, I think all of this is beginning to ramp up the activity and the amount of people that are down there, and we can adjust. You know, if it turns out that there's a demand for swim lessons in the morning, and we can run the Aqua van, that's not an issue. If it turns out that we need to have one person running the van constantly and another one being at the park, you know, it's summer 7 weeks. You know, we can add somebody to do that. We've been talking about this issue for 4 or 5 years now. How many times have we gotten complaints over what's going on at Houghton Park? And basing the Aqua van out of there, I think, is the opportunity to turn the corner on that.
I totally agree with Tim. I mean, it's a learning experience. We won't have it mastered by the end of the 7 weeks, I don't imagine. But
I'm not sure it's the same person, you know, that's down there for the whole time. You know, it might rotate through from some folks that it is going to be one busy summer. The registrations are off the charts.
okay. Does anyone else have comments or questions on this?
Are we charging to take the Aqua van?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay, thanks.
Any comments, audience?
Looking for a few good drivers over it.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, yeah. We could get a park ranger uniform, I see it.
Yeah.
Have to short though.
Of course. Olive green.
Maybe a nice hat.
White brim hat.
You know, if I wasn't away, I would.
Anyone on the Zoom have any comments, questions? Hearing none, thanks for that update. We will, so the plan would be just, you're gonna move ahead with something close to that and have it in place for when school gets out? Is that
I mean, I'll talk to Kelly about the summer staff, but usually that starts when school gets out. They're scrambling like crazy to find enough people, like everybody.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 9, which is consider approval of a facade sign grant for Outer Known, also known as Project Vermont. So Chip, you're up.
Thank you. This is for the storefronts at, I believe, 46 North Main Street, where the frozen yogurt used to be, but today it's occupied by an operation called Project Vermont. it's a satellite of a business on the West Coast called Outer Known, which specializes in, well, it's a clothing company, sort of an activewear clothing company that with a commitment to sustainability. They opened up Project Vermont because they wanted to have a place where some of their excess materials could be transformed into items that can be sold. So it's sort of a way of recycling some of the clothing out of the overall operation of the corporation. And there are some little Outer Known Project Vermont decals in the window, but the main sign panel on the top of the storefront is still empty. So as we've done with other sign grants in the past, we approached them about working with the city to put a nice sign up there and, you know, just add that to the look and feel of downtown. What we have proposed is a nice, unique looking sign. It's the Outer Known label, but it would be a metal sign with background halo lighting of the letters, and I think it would look very nice.
I'd say it's fairly black and white.
Yeah, pretty black and white issue. Although, yeah. Depending on how you look at it. This treatment is a little more expensive than your typical sign, but I think this is something we should try out in this location and see how it looks. I think it's going to look really good. And so we've proposed that the city funds 75% of this one. The Outer Known has agreed to that.
Has the design advisory board looked at this?
So signs go before the zoning administrator.
Is this a retail store that they're selling product right in this store here?
They don't always sell product, but I think sometimes they do, and it's certain items. It's sort of like almost like a fiber crafts operation. They sell some of the items there, but the other items that they process there are sold online.
I think they're only open very limited hours for public sale.
But if you walk in there, you'll see several fiber artists working on various different pieces of old denim and other things, and making bags and other cool items out of them.
I think online too, are they?
Yeah.
Sold online as well. But actually, it's not a store like the others along Main Street, open 5 to 6 days a week.
Okay.
I'm wondering if the picture brings that sign out a little more than it's going to be. I just wonder if that colors and character with the downtown.
The black and the white?
Yeah.
Well, it's similar to the deep black background of the Village Frame Shop sign, in that the letters are gold. This one, I think, the letters will actually, yeah, there'll be a Saturn white. This is, I think, threads that needle between making a good use of the sign space, but also letting the corporate entity use their logo. It's not in violation of any of our typical design rules.
Is their logo black and white?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bootleggers is black and silver, right?
You think Vermont Quebec?
Yeah, yeah.
You think Vermont Quebec has to be a French English?
Chip, I noticed, I read through the proposal, on the 4th paragraph you have, you mentioned awning as opposed to sign, I believe. The current estimate for the awning is 9365.
Oh yeah, that's a typo.
I was looking for the awning, I didn't see it, and then
Current estimate for the sign is the 9,300 number.
Does anyone have any other questions for Chip?
Tim, I just have one comment. I'm not a fashion expert or anything, but hold on a sec. Something going on downtown here. I'm not a fashion expert or anything, but I really like having the signs and the buildings different colors. It just makes them stand out. Shows the blocks, some of the blocks, you know, the facades look very similar. So having the different signs makes this different storefronts stand out. You see it a lot in Maine, and I find it very appeasing to the eye. So just my comment.
You're not going to paint your house black and white, are you?
No, but I'm thinking about doing many different colors now.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the facade grant?
I'll move that we approve the facade grant for outer known as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Mike, seconded by Marie, to approve the facade grant as presented by Chip. Any further questions? Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Okay. Chip, we'll stay with you. Moving on to consider appointments for Historic Preservation Commission. So we have 2 renewals and one to fill a vacancy, is that correct?
Yeah, after this month, we'll have 3 open seats on the HPC, and we have 3 candidates for those seats. Joe Luno and Richard Stahl are current members. Their terms are expiring and they'd like to stay on. Karen Marie Pelletier, who's currently on our Design Advisory Board, would like to join this board as well.
Motion to appoint Joe Luno, Karen Marie Pelletier, and Richard Stahl for the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of appointing the slate of commission members, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, so appointed are Joe Luno, Karen Marie Pelletier, and Richard Stahl. Moving on to item number 11, which is...
Jim?
Yep, sorry, Chad.
Tim, quick question, did we interview Karen Marie for that position? The other 2 are reappointments, but did we interview her?
Chip, to sit down with Karen Marie, or...
Well, I don't believe we sat down with Karen Marie about this particular position, but since she's already a known entity being a member of the city board.
And there's no other candidates.
And there are no other candidates.
And plus her application looks pretty complete, and she looks very qualified from the application.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to vote nay because we didn't interview her for this.
So, motion passes to appoint the slate of officers with 1 opposition. Moving forward, we have appointments for Northwest Vermont Rail Trail Council. We have 2 candidates for that position. Once again, Richard Stahl and Alex Lenning. In your packet, you did have a application from Richard Stahl. I'm guessing you didn't see Alex's yet, Jim?
Alex withdrew by email this morning, just looking at his time commitment. He'd like to be considered for somebody in the future.
Okay. But then one of those was going to be an alternate, correct?
Yeah, or would have to go to the actual Rail Trail Council for them to appoint as an at-large member, but there is a seat that the city council can appoint as the city representative. And at this point, Richard Stahl is the candidate for that seat.
I'd just like to point out also that the seat opened up because Jim Smith, a city resident, longtime V-Trans employee, sat on that board for the city for
a long time,
25, 30 years, and did a heck of a job for the city. And just want to thank Jim for his commitment to the rail trail and making it what it is today. So we have a motion to appoint Richard Stahl.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, or any other comments, I should say? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion
Yeah, I'm in
passes.
opposition.
Chad, repeat that?
Same reason.
Okay,
I'm an A, and same reason the previous one.
yep.
I'll go with the previous one, it was only Karen had to issue it. I didn't have it with Richard or Joe.
Next item is item number 12. Tom, you want to come forward and discuss the bond finance documents?
Thank you. I've been before you with these similar documents a couple times before, but the attorneys require a few go-arounds here. 20-year cash, 2.14% interest for the pool. So nothing has changed since I presented this a month and 2 months ago. Looking for a motion to authorize myself, the court treasurer, and the mayor to sign the documents. And we'll have the cash in the door by the end of the week.
And the documents include the certificate, the resolution, the 8036-G, right? And we'll be signing that.
Yeah, that's just the IRS form.
So there's 3 forms that would need to be signed, correct?
Correct.
Everyone
And
had
the bond itself.
And this is a presentation that Tom gave us at the last meeting, talking about the prime interest rate that we got to make this happen. And this is all for the pool, correct?
Correct.
Anyone have any questions of Tom?
How long is this interest rate locked for? We better jump on this, right?
It's locked.
Okay. So you need a motion to approve.
To authorize myself, the mayor, and the court treasurer to sign the documents.
Okay, so I will make the motion to approve Tom, the city manager, and the mayor to sign the bond documents.
Clerk treasurer.
The clerk treasurer, excuse me. Clerk treasurer, Tom Lights, and the mayor to sign the bond documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions for Tom? This is, as I said, this is what we discussed at the last meeting. Hearing none, I entertain a motion. The motion that's on the floor. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Chad, your thumbs up. Thank you. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
You'll point out where you need the signatures, Tom.
Yep, I'll do that.
All right. Mayor's report. Got quite a few items. I thought Kelly might be here. I'll get into this in a second. But thank you to Marty and his team for picking up all the green up bags and trash. Had a great turnout. Probably about 80 to 90 people out and about picking up trash in the city. So thank you to all those individuals that participated. Personally, I think it's a great event. It makes a big difference in the community, and thank you to Mike, Bob, and Chad for manning some of the parks and handing out bags, so thank you for that. And thank you for the Girl Scouts. We had companies participate. We had Mylan or Beatrice participating, Congregational Church, the Girl Scouts. We also had some BFA senior volunteers, as well as the team up at Subaru, the new Subaru dealership. So thanks for all those people who participated. The next green, there's a green up on for anyone who walks the trails at Aldous Hill and at Harnack. They're doing a green up this coming Saturday from 8:30 to noon, and then I think people are gonna grab a bite to eat and move over to Bootleggers. I think they're having their grand opening, right, on Saturday. So let people know that that's available as well. And then for me, I don't know about anyone else, but nothing but good comments relative to the Kingman Fest. Chip, kudos to you and your team, the downtown group, and
We helped, but it was all Lauren and Shannon and Jesse Egan exercising his Freddie Mercury vocal cords.
yeah, I heard nothing. The crowd was huge, well behaved. Got over right at 9 o'clock as promised. Marty has informed me that the street was cleaned up in good shape, so I did have a number of people ask if that's going to be an annual event. Of course, we hit it well with the weather and everything else, so thank you to Sharon and Lauren for setting that up, and the rest of your team. So those are the items I had. Well, the last one is, so I I'm looking for some direction, and Chad, you gave me some, but I sort of got pushback on this, and that is, I had an individual who has requested that he put a piece of art in Taylor Park. It is, it sort of, it's a tribute to the Ukraine population and what they're going through, is a piece of support, if you will, for the Ukrainian people. And so I reached out to Chad, we talked about it. I thought, I didn't want to overstep my bounds, so I talked to Chad, and I remember years ago when I believe individuals came forward to put a structure in the park, and I knew there was a lot of conversation relative to that. So Chad suggested it goes back. We should have it go to the Parks Commission, have them come forward with a recommendation. I've been working with Kelly trying to get a meeting pulled together. She got pushback from one of the members on the commission stating that, more or less, why am I passing this off to the commission when there's been so many other things that happen in the park that there's no permit required, such as selling Girl Scout cookies, other art initiatives. I think there was a lady out there last week. People were making up t-shirts and she was displaying them. From my understanding, there's no permit for that. So the question is, I guess, what is the process? I thought the Parks Commission wanted a little more activity, a little more responsibility, sent it that way, sort of got pushed back that should be a city council decision. So I guess I'm bringing that up for a quick discussion and see where you want to go with that.
What kind of artwork is this, and how big is it?
The piece is, Marty's from 8 foot by 6 foot. It would mount in the ground. It's
Like a painting or something?
No, it's not painting. It's an abstract piece. It's a chain link fence, which has a number of different blue and white children toys on it that sort of from a distance looks like the Ukrainian flag. So that's what it is.
Is there a time limit on how long it will be up?
The artist is flexible in that, 2, 3, 4 weeks, but not, I do not believe he's looking for anything longer than that. Marty, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but so I've had conversation with him, Marty has as well. And I'm fine telling him, yes, go ahead and do it, but at the same time, someone on the Parks Commission has a concern that it's sort of free-flowing now and there's not structure to that. So
I think there is a park permit that people get for assemblies and activities and weddings, events, right? Sort of the process has some flex in it based on the weight of the ask, right? Do we have a picture of it handy?
Marty does.
I think I do.
Yeah,
Talk amongst yourselves, I'll be right back.
So,
I might find out.
while Marty's doing that, I think that we should, if we're going to do this, just make sure that we have some kind of consistent policy that we develop. That the one thing that I worry about is the creation of a public forum. So in the controversy in the legislature just now around the city of Barrie trying to change their charter to limit the flags that they could have, for instance, we really looked at this case that just went through in Massachusetts where the city of Boston had, a third flagpole, right, where they were allowing different groups for different times to put up a flag for a short period of time, and it wasn't until they basically said, no, that one we won't do, after having done a bunch of others. So I just worry, we allow basically sort of in an ad hoc way to say that we like that and we like that and we like that, and then the 4th one that comes along or the 20th one that comes along where we have a special request to install something in the park and we find that it might offend people or something like that. If we're arbitrary in the way that we adjudicate that, it could be considered a public forum, and we might get ourselves into some.
We're not talking political speech.
Okay.
We're not talking flags, you know, this,
I mean.
You know, like, I'm gonna give you my opinion as an appointed official. I think the challenge here is that, you know, as art, it has a theme that isn't readily apparent, right? It's not obvious that this is a sculpture or some, you know, on the face of it, it's not a home run looking at it to me as an individual, right? And, you know, maybe further out than I ought to be on this, but I think we're all pushing it around because it isn't, as you look at it, it's a hard question, right? I don't mean any disrespect to the arts. I just think anytime you're trying to put art in a public space, it's a more difficult meal to shred than art that you're putting in your home or in,
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I don't see nothing wrong with
So where do you want to go? I mean, like I said, I thought going through the Parks Commission, but
you want to put it up? You okay with it being up?
I'm okay with it being up because it is a shorter term. It's not a permanent fixture. It's a short-term display.
3 weeks?
3 weeks.
I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with it.
that. I have no problem.
Chip, you're along right.
We want to ask where it should go.
No. Well, we can, but
I strike that from the minutes then.
with the benefit of hindsight, staff should have put it up.
It's just supporting the youth.
Knowing, so, I probably let my personal reaction
You can't
to
fight
it
for fighting.
guide the staff response.
Right?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Mike said, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have big pushback. We just did this with the schools, where we had to pass a policy that it's not speech, that things we're doing reflect missions and not speech. And I'm letting you know right now, Mike's 100% right. You're going to have issue. And I'm salivating because I'm hearing this, and as a free speech expert, I'm like, okay, when that goes up, I'm going to start petitioning to put other art up. Not me personally, but what I'm saying is, as a free speech person, that's what's going to happen. And I think you guys are, I mean, if that's what you want, I love the sculpture, I think it's great, but you're going to be walking into a landmine where people are going to be wanting to put up things, and it's recognizable enough that I know exactly what that represents. And like Mike said, in Boston, they just had this issue, and that wasn't necessarily considered political speech, it was just considered speech.
It's a Christian flag, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a Christian flag. And
The Supreme Court said that they should not have disallowed it.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that it's going to be the same thing here. You're not going to be able to, people are going to be coming to you and they're going to be wanting to put everything up.
Yeah,
You're
so
going to have a park full of sculptures.
And the issue in the Boston case was really about the creation of a public forum. If there had been a policy where they said, we will do these things, or we will have these people approve it, and maybe I'm being like, because this was so fraught, this discussion that we just had in the State House, maybe I just have a little bit of like political trauma around that conversation, but I just don't want to put us in a bad place. I want to put up the art. I would love for there to be more art. I just think if we do this, we really should we should have some kind of just real basic policy, and if the school just went through it, I'd love to see what their policy was and think about it, but I want to make sure we just have some parameters so that if we have to say no in the future to the next request, that there's like a foundation of thought about like who gets to decide that and why and what kinds of things we would put up, and it doesn't have to, we don't have to debate it for 4 hours or anything. I just want to make sure we're not just being so willy-nilly.
Do you know how many meetings we are going to spend on that thing?
How much it costs?
I mean,
It might not have to be the council.
The
curated.
Right, the schools was flags or art?
This is flags. So it was, it was a policy around the idea that the flags don't represent speech. When we put them up, the flags represent mission, a vision, a part of what the school stands for. And so you could do that very easily and just have a policy. But I think, just coming from, I'm just telling you, I think Mike's right that you should at least have a policy up, because otherwise you're gonna end up in trouble. A year down the line when someone comes and wants to put up a satanic flag or a satanic sculpture or something like that, so.
What's wrong with saying?
I'm not saying anything about it, I'm just saying, I think there's people here who might not be happy with that.
Is there any way that if we approve this, we approve it on the basis that we don't have a policy yet, but for future construction of this type of art, we're gonna have a policy? I mean, I don't want this artist to be punished because we don't have a policy.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
So we do this with a moratorium until we have a policy.
Hold on. Listening to the discussion around the table, I think you have a very forward-leaning, inclusive approach to art, that when in doubt, you will give it the benefit of the doubt, and you want to see more art. And you're okay with this, right? I think staff flubbed this up for you. We should have put the thing up. It's art. I'm really reticent to start, as you hear from policies restrain your decision making. And you're gonna spend a ton of time writing this one. And it's gonna slop over into flags like that. And we had a conversation upstairs about what's important on our agenda. And I'm just very concerned about the amount of hours in the day and where we allocate it versus what our priorities are.
If you're advising us that I'm bringing up a level of risk that is not appropriate for this particular conversation, I am willing to say that, like, I just wanted to throw out there that, like, that was my immediate thought, was to have anxiety for the amount of time and effort that we would have to spend on, the ask that we don't feel comfortable displaying.
I remember when Linda Kirker came here, Chad and I were on the board, only us, with the people that sit here now, and she wanted to have a constitutional law day in the park. Liz was mayor. And even though that sounded good, we said no. And we said no for a bunch of reasons. And one was the way she presented ideas in her talk show. And we thought that it was what did include everybody. It included certain views from certain people. And she was using the Constitutional Law Day concept to promote that. And so the board, or the council, at that time said no. Why is this different than that?
It's because there's no speech. It's a work of art that...
Somebody just interpreted that to be something for the Ukrainian struggle.
Tim used the word. It's not obvious, as Newell said, it's not obvious immediately that that's what it is. If you want to see it as that, it could be that.
It's the Ukrainian colors.
Yes.
It's the Ukrainian flag, and the title of the art is Youth in Asia.
The title of the work is what?
No.
It's west of the Ural Mountains, right?
So
I think a strength of our park is it's accessible and it's inclusive. We had a whole conversation about making sure that we had, around the holidays, that we had as much of an opportunity for people of different religious faiths to be expressive there. A lot of communities wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. They would say nobody's putting anything up, right? And we start trying to write this, that's where we're going to end up, I think. And unless the council would direct us otherwise, I think staff would be inclined to find an appropriate place in the park for 3 weeks.
Chad has a hand up and a comment.
Chad?
So I'm going to say that we need to have a policy. Tim brought it up. They wanted to put art in the park before, and they're like, hey, we want it for 6 months. But at the same time, it's going to be for sale. So if someone buys it between now and the 6 months, it's gone. So these are the kinds of things that can come up. If they want to display the art, you have 2 art panels at Houghton Park. Screw it to the side of the building on one of those panels and advertise that that's where it's at. And then we already have policy, we have rules. It's not breaking any of the rules there. It fits within the policy. It'll fit on that. It'll fit to one of those boards, and then it'll get. I mean, we can ask either. I mean, isn't there an arts? Can we ask them to write up a policy for art in Taylor Park?
So here, Chad, let me go with it. Chad, I think you make a good suggestion to put it at Houghton Park with the other 2 that are on the wall. And we can continue this discussion later. I think we'll go back around and around, but if everyone's in favor of it being at Houghton Park, along with 2 other pieces along the wall, then let's do that, and then we will revisit this discussion moving forward.
Tim, I'm saying replace one of the ones at Houghton Park. So I'm saying paint one of the ones that are there. This is what they're for. Paint it white, paint it green, paint it yellow and blue. I don't care. Paint it whatever color you want, and screw it right to one of those boards. They haven't changed in 2 years.
It's a chain fence, it's a fence.
Yeah, it's more.
Chad, I sent you a picture of it.
It's a piece of fence.
Yeah.
No, you did. Screw it right to one of that panel's 4x8. Screw it right to one of those 4x8 panels.
Wasn't the vision of the artist that it be freestanding? I mean, I don't know what, like.
Yeah, just freestanding.
Yeah.
Worse and worse.
We're spending a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on.
I've come around 180. I don't ever want to hear about art ever
Policy
again.
shall say that with the artist's permission, freestanding art may be affixed to an appropriate building, correct?
I don't think it has to be freestanding though. That looks like it looks like it's just got stakes in one ground.
Poles, yeah, poles.
Why do you think staff should have put it up, allowed it to go up?
Because we do nuts and bolts, and this was a nuts and bolts issue that we should have handled.
All right, then let's move it back to staff, if they want to put it up, put it up.
Like, it's not, we made a nuts and bolts issue into a policy issue.
We're spending too much time on this.
So you're gonna deal with it.
I'll put it up, yeah. That new parking park.
All right, so, and then we can continue that as a discussion at a later time.
You brought this up anyway.
I don't remember.
We're under.
Newell did, I think. Newell pointed out. All right, I've done my report. Let's go around, starting here with Bob Farrar.
Okay, you've covered the waterfront, and we've covered everything today, so I don't have anything additional to add in terms of Ward 5 today.
Okay, Michael?
Things are good, Ward 4. Really, really fun grant update. Thanks for making that easy, Mr. Mayor, dropping off all the boxes to us. Although I caught you on my Ring doorbell, I think at like 12:30 at night or something, dropping off those boxes. You're working around the clock for the city of St. Albans.
And he's missing 2 planters.
Yeah. I was going to unplug the car, but I said no.
Thanks. That would have made for a fun morning for me. H741 was signed by the governor today, so our charter is officially having us appoint our clerk and treasurer. So that is now law.
Thank you for ushering that through. Appreciate it. Mr. Hawkins?
I had full intentions of coming tonight to complain about the shopping center again, but I saw them working in there today and fixing this stuff up, so I'll wait until the next meeting to see if everything that I wanted fixed gets fixed. And also Stebbins Street, the cut across the road that they've made. Can someone go down there and do something about that?
That's going into the
Stebbins Street going into the old.
catering.
Yeah, that's being paid this week.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
We're waiting for the plant to open in Swan.
To that point, Sue LeClaire is ecstatic with her new location down on 7th Street. She loves it. Chad, what do you have?
Just a couple things. Again, I just want to echo Tim's thank you for Green Up Day. I think it was fantastic. Tim, please give us the same weather every year. It'd be much appreciated. The light at Weldon and Maine seem to be sensing, so thank you for fixing those. And then I've had a complaint this week about parking on Stoll Street. So the kids are starting to park there all day again. So they were blocking a driveway. So if we could just send Steve down every once in a while. It doesn't have to be every day or anything, but maybe once every couple weeks or something. Besides that, all is well. Thank you.
I would share, Michael, do you know if there's still available parking spaces to be purchased at the ballet studio?
I think that now that we have Vermont Counseling and Training Center there, that their parking
Is limited.
Yeah, is limited, but
On Stebbins Street?
Yep.
Yeah.
so.
Okay, Marie, what do you have?
Not a whole lot. I didn't know, Marty, do you have a schedule all set for paving and sidewalks and so forth?
For paving we do. The only sidewalks we'll be doing are some repairs.
Okay, when you are looking for repairs,
Well, we aren't, but.
well, if you should. It was brought to my attention, and I confess I have not gone down and looked at it, but somebody was concerned about the sidewalk in front of Holy Angels Church, and if that was going to be repaired or whatever. I haven't taken a look at it. So
We're repairing a section up in front of Spectrum, but we haven't gotten anything on Holy Angels, so we can check that out too.
I mean, just check it. I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't looked at it myself, so. Okay, well, thank you.
Joel, anything?
Oh, yeah, I'm concerned about when you come off and Newton to go on to Federal Street, kind of rough there. You know, when you come up on.
The pavement, that intersection? Yeah.
Just thought I'd mention it to you.
Does that would be patched?
Yeah, we're gonna repair that as part of that intersection, so.
Yeah.
That it?
That's it for me.
The last one I did want to make note of is there's a meeting at St. Mary's Parish Hall tomorrow night regarding the future of St. Mary's Church. St. Mary's Church is the oldest Catholic church in
1849.
1849 in the state of Vermont, and they're going to be discussing, I think, if I'm correct, potentially closing it down and then discussing the future of it. The rehab needs are, from what I've been told, are substantial, and based on financial situation of the Catholic diocese, they probably don't have the money to make those repairs. So
Is that bad a shape?
that's what we're going to find out tomorrow night. I'm hearing it is, and there is I don't want to be an alarmist, but the discussion is maybe focused on removal of the church. So.
Yeah, couldn't they do like they did in Fairfax with the old Baptist church? In Fairfax? Community center?
I think it's more about a safety issue and with the whole church. So.
Yeah, see, that was the Irish church. It should have had more family.
I know. Manians don't go to church like they used to.
No, that's true there.
And Welch's. So, okay, let's move on.
Motion to accept regular meeting minutes for 11/22.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of minutes. Anyone have any amendments, changes, or corrections? This is about the same each time. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Abstention for Ward 1, wasn't here. What about you, Newell?
What's that now?
What about you, Newell?
You were not in the last meeting. So
No, I wasn't.
You're abstaining.
Abstain.
Abstaining, yeah.
B, warrant for 4/29/22.
Motion to approve warrants 4/29/22.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
even with our wandering